and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. So, maybe you've been involved in some love triangles over the course of your life. If you're in a band, you know that there's hot chicks everywhere and band guys can't help themselves. So there's a hardcore band, I believe they are out of Nashville, called Lorona, like my Lorona, but it's two L's. So like Lloyd and Alf, I like to call them La Lorona. The singer, Diego, hardcore band, fell in love with another bandmate. The bandmate's name is Six. So Diego fell in love with Six's wife and was like, I want her for myself. How could I get her? Apparently, Diego likes to hit the weights, hit the iron, go to the gym, bulk up, do some reps, some lunges, commiserate with the Smith bar when he has to. And, he and Six were doing some workouts, and Diego was apparently working in the gym and had access to, somehow, hormones. So he figured if he could get his bandmate to transition and be super womanly, then he himself at the same time would make himself more manly. And by comparison with his transitioning bandmate, he would look like He-Man. He would look like Roman Reigns. He would look like Travis Kelce to the Swifties. So he started juicing his bandmate smoothies with estrogen. So he was giving this guy hey, protein drinks. It's like in Mean Girls. Yeah, take these Caltine bars. They'll make you lose a bunch of weight. It's like, why is my ass so big? Oh, that's what Caltine does. It makes you fat first, and then your body flushes out all the carbohydrates. So, he's giving his bandmate estrogen for 5 months, and the guy starts developing all of these medical symptoms and emotional symptoms. He had problems with ulcers and, other things that he wouldn't disclose. Like, I'm guessing he all of a sudden wanted to watch the Hallmark Channel and, have a good cry and maybe check out TikTok videos on eyelash extensions. He doesn't really know why. And all of a sudden he needs a training bra. Like he's the star of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And, who knows what his wife is doing? Maybe she's like, bye. And she's like, oh my God, you're so hot. Like, I didn't realize how much I love you until you got boobs, which really foiled Diego's plans. So Diego not only has a problem putting the special lady sauce in his friend's protein drinks, he also apparently gets drunk and starts flapping his gums. So he got hammered one night and he's like, Six, I love Mrs. Six so much. She's the best and I love her. And guess what? Your boobs and everything and your new periods and stuff, that's because I've been putting estrogen in your protein smoothies. So Six saved a couple cups of the special sauce and is going to give them to the authorities. And that Diego might find himself singing a little hardcore tune at a place called the Gray Bar Hotel where he could be mopping floors with his bottom like Jeffrey Dahmer. Things don't always end well for people who go juicing bandmates with some lady chemicals. So I fear for Diego's safety at this point, and he can sing for his supper all they want, but it sounds like he's going to be eating something else with his fellow inmates if he is, in fact, convicted of this.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
And so I started thinking back, on the 90s at MTV when I was around, different dudes and chicks and bands. And and I can't name names because I will get sued, but there was one male band member who was very famous and apparently had the herp and was dating. He didn't have the herp yet. I've jumped the gun. He was dating a woman in another band. She had the herp. No. I got the herp. Okay. He was dating a woman in a band who did not have the herp. She didn't have the herp. He didn't have the herp. But then he started dating another woman in the same band, because you have to remember in the 90s, there were a lot of female bands. There were a lot of bands that contained more than one female. So this was not anomalous. These were not unicorns. The music industry was silly with them. So he doesn't have the herp. He dates girl number one who also doesn't have the herp. He starts dating her bandmate, who's a female with the herp, and gives it to girl number one. Needless to say, that band is no longer together. But I remember hearing that story and being like, holy mother of God, which is why I maintained my good goalie until I was 24 years old, which is probably too late in some people's estimations, but let's be honest here. And then the other one was when Trent Reznor briefly dated Courtney Love, and it didn't end well, and she became obsessed with him. And she called me one night when she knew I was on the phone with him so that I would tell him that he was buying a house in New Orleans that was in escrow. And she called me to tell him that she had paid cash and bought that house so he could no longer have it. And I was like, well, this is going to be awkward when I have to go back to him. And so I go back to him and I was like, you're not going to believe this, but your thwarted crazy lover, Courtney Love, is on the phone, and she's saying she just bought your house from underneath you in New Orleans. And he said, hang up with her right now. I'm holding the keys. The house is mine. She is not. And then she went on to publicly call him 1-inch nail, which I thought was very rude. And I can also verify that it is not true. You're welcome, Trent. And Diego, I got no advice for you. I'm not helping you in any way. What you did was awful. And now Mrs. and Mrs. Six are going to have a lovely relationship. And they will be celebrated by Bud Light in this new, beautiful, blossoming stage of their life. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.